welcome to Nick Needs to Know. Get ready for some raw and honest discussions as I bring on guests from all walks of life to spill the beans on their career journeys, the hurdles they faced, and the invaluable lessons they learned along the way. So let's dive into the nitty-gritty and uncover the good, the bad, and the ugly of chasing our dreams and finding our way in this crazy world. Hello, and guess where I am today? Back at Heaton Park in Manchester, and I've got the pleasure of being joined by the one and only Kieran Boyle. We're taking a leisurely walk, unpacking Kieran's career choices, life decisions, and the ripples they've created. But hold on, our chat takes an unexpected turn into the realm of Kieran's Disney-themed engagement. Trust me, it's a story you won't want to miss. So kick back, throw on your virtual boots, and come along for this stroll and talk at Heaton Park. Morning, Kieran.
Morning, Nick.
Afternoon, even looking at my clock
afternoon.
now.
Welcome to Manchester.
I know, well, I didn't know how to approach this because I have to be honest now. I was going to say, back in Heaton Park, or do I say, where am I? What is this place? And you tell me where we are, because I've just done a podcast with a friend of yours, and
Yeah.
Dave Ellis, and we're in the same place.
Same place, different journey.
Yeah, different journey.
And I'm quite disappointed, to be honest, because I thought you'd get the full Manchester experience with the weather, but
It's nice, mate. It was nice. It's a bit windy. Well,
storm came in on the way.
You told me yesterday to bring my umbrella, but I've not needed it yet. Still dry.
There's time yet, Nick.
So, Heaton Park today, he was saying, obviously the golf course is a big thing for you. For him, sorry. What does Heaton Park mean to you?
It's a memory of my childhood, to be honest.
Yeah.
Got fond memories of it here, like where we're walking now.
Yeah.
Just looking at all these different hills, it's where I used to play when I was a kid. I used to always have a football in my hand, and my mum would take me here, have a kick about, get an ice cream, and then a bit further beyond, I used to be able to feed horses and donkeys and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
And then as I get a little bit older, come in and have a few Lambrinis,
Few sherbets.
few sherbets, and then later down the line come and join in with some concerts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a place where I've always come to at some stage over the course of my life, and I thought it'd be good just to come here and kind of walk down memory lane a little bit.
And it's my first time here as well, or second time.
Yeah, and it's a place what attracts a lot of people for a lot of reasons, and
Yeah.
more so now because of all the concerts that they do hold here. And
He said they do park life here, is it?
Park Life, they've had Stone Roses, Oasis,
Okay.
some really big events, and some that I can't really remember.
I always wonder about a place like this, how they police it, you know, because it is a massive country park, and how do you sell tickets for like an open air gig? What's in somewhere like this?
They just go like wildfire, to be
Really?
honest. Yeah, literally, the tickets sell out instantly. They sell for hundreds of pounds for weekend passes, and I mean, I feel like I'm selling the place like I work here, but it's
But maybe it's just my Yorkshire mentality then, because as soon as you said the old gigs here, I'm thinking straight away, what fence can I jump over and not have to pay?
yeah, I've done that a few times in this park, believe me.
It does look pretty open to be able to police it, but
No, it's a place what I like to come back to every now and then, and like I was saying earlier, just walk down memory lane a little bit and remind myself of things that I used to do, and
yeah,
you know, with family and friends, past and present, really.
yeah. We're going to talk about today your career and stuff, and what you've got up to in your past, and how life started for Kieran on the career ladder. So I wonder if you could tell me where and what your first job was.
So my first one was actually a work experience in, funnily enough, American Golf discount store.
All right.
So it was selling golf clubs, and back then I was only football mad. I didn't have a clue about wedges and drivers and putters, and you know, it was really difficult, but it was something that I got stuck in with. And leaving school, my main priority was to get a trade.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I found a piece of paper not long ago that I'd written on when I was in high school, and it was objectives and like what we thought we were going to be when we were older and how we were going to do it. And I'd written down that I was going to get myself a trade, and then go and live abroad, and then come back and get myself a full-time career, and I've pretty much done all that. And it's quite interesting when some people talk about manifestation, and you know, I'm quite a big believer in it. And
see, it is interesting that you're even speaking out those words, never mind writing them down at that age.
Yeah.
I probably didn't know what objectives meant until I was in my 30s, mate, so you've done well there.
I think I was brighter when I was a kid than I am now, to be honest. I think I've lost a few brain cells along the way, but it's one of them things where you write it down and it can happen, because you're kind of predicting your own future in certain ways. And yeah, the American golf was the first time I was physically involved in anything, and it was in retail, and it wasn't for me. I knew straight away that's not what I wanted to do. I'm more of a hands-on person. It's the way that I learn best. And originally I wanted to be an electrician, but I turned out to be a gas engineer, so I qualified on a level 3 apprenticeship, installing boilers and gas fires, etc. And I did that for nearly 4 years. And it was when, if you remember, when the recession came in back in, I think it was 2008.
It would have been 2008, I remember it well.
Everything came down in terms of what people were getting paid to do the job. And I just kind of fell out of love with it and decided at that stage, do you know what, I'm just going to go and live my life like I'd written down on that piece of paper years before. And decided to go and live in Ibiza and party for a little bit and enjoy myself. And stayed there for 3 years, the 3 summer seasons anyway.
So did you come home in between seasons then, or?
Yeah, so I did May till October. So that was 2010, 11 and 12. And then in between I used to still do me gas jobs just to tide me over and kind of save up the money to go back.
So sort of like self-employed on side sort of work? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. And I used to work alongside a family friend who was doing like Gary Neville's house, for example, Phil Neville, so they were quite big jobs. And it lasted a long time, and it allowed me just to save up to kind of keep living the dream until I just physically couldn't drink anymore, to be honest.
So what were you doing out in Ibiza then? Were it all sort of repping work, or?
Yeah, so it started off as ticket sales. I used to be the annoying rep that would approach you on a beach and try and sell you a ticket to a beach party, boat party, nightclub event, and I got quite good at it, and I got recognised for it and got promoted a little bit. I worked for a bar called Lineker's, and it was a really big bar in Ibiza. And
is that
like Wayne Lineker?
Wayne Lineker,
yeah. So Gary Lineker's brother. So we worked together for that season, and I built up a bit of a brand out there, and people asked me then, you know, come and work for me next year. And
what, different bars?
Different bars, yeah. So that's what made me go back the year after and the year after. And it was a really good learning experience, because it was getting me out of my comfort zone, approaching strangers basically and trying to sell them something. And you build up a bit of resilience with it when you get told no probably 1,000 times and then you get the one yes.
Is that something you look back at then, that you think in hindsight it built up your resilience, or was that something you were consciously trying to do at the time?
I think it was just
yourself.
Subconsciously it happened. It was something that I had to do in order to survive out there. If I didn't sell the tickets, I didn't get paid. There was no salary. So whatever I sold was what fed me while I was out there and allowed me to carry on enjoying myself and pay the rent. So by doing that, it just builds up your confidence as well. Once you get a sale, it makes you want to get another one. And I've always had that mentality to keep going. It's something that was instilled in me by my mum. She's someone that always says, don't give up on your dreams, and you know, just if it doesn't happen the first time, just keep trying. One of her phrases or sayings is, what's meant to be won't pass you by. And it's always kind of stuck with me. And just because something doesn't work out at one time, it doesn't mean it's never going to happen. And I've always had that mentality, just keep going.
And do you think going to Ibiza Was that one of your short-term dreams, or did you have any long-term dreams at that point in your life?
I think it was more of a way of resetting myself and kind of just considering what I wanted to do in life. I was kind of at a crossroad in between staying with the gas or doing something totally different, and I realistically didn't know what to do. So I found that like a bit of a breathing space for me.
Bit of a gap year sort of thing.
Yeah, gap years, enjoy myself, live life while I could while I was young, and then, you know, the impact to me wasn't that bad at home because I was still living at home.
Yeah.
So realistically, it was the perfect time to do it for me. And then when I came back in 2012, I realised then, you know, I'm not getting any younger, and I'm not 18 anymore, and I kind of didn't fit in with the crowd as much. So that's when I decided then at the age of 24 to really start focusing on my career path and what I wanted to do. And I got really lucky, to be honest, with joining Sky.
Is that when you joined Sky back in 2012?
2013. So I was doing the gas between 2012 and 13. Really wasn't enjoying it, and just started looking on the likes of Indeed and CV Library just to try and find something that caught my eye. And there really wasn't anything until I saw on Indeed the application, or the vacancy for an apprenticeship scheme at Sky. And I actually didn't think I was going to get it. It was open for, I think, 16 to 24 year olds, and I was 24, so I was right at the end of what they were looking for. And I thought, do you know what, just go for it. Anything can happen. If you don't buy the ticket, you don't win the raffle. And luckily I got accepted, and, you know, 10 years later I'm still stood here today.
It's interesting, listening to what you just said there, how you opened that statement. You said you got kind of lucky with getting into Sky. It's a statement that I hear all the time, and I think there's no real luck involved. It's the work that person's put in, or what that person wants, they get rewarded for that. So what makes you think you were lucky in terms of that?
I think it was more to do with the timing, because if it was probably 6 months later, I'd have been too old to apply. Coupled with the fact that my age at the time, I would have expected a company as big as Sky to go for a younger person, just because if you're training them on an apprenticeship, you can get more time out of them and recuperate what you've put in. So I see that as the lucky part. And obviously the luck as well is being able to transition from being a gas engineer and just do something completely different. Because at one stage I thought I'm just going to end up kind of a bit of a deadbeat, you know, and not really be anything in life, and it was quite depressing. So to get where I am now, I'm always grateful to have been given the opportunity, you know, from the very start, and for someone to sit there and actually believe in me. But I know what you mean. It does.
If you flip it, no one's giving you anything. You've taken it. You've seen an opportunity and you've took that opportunity. That's why I get why people say there's a bit of luck involved in X, Y, and Z, but sometimes I think people need to have a bit more like self-belief, and we're all guilty of it, aren't we? I often think I'm lucky in life, but opportunities are there to be taken. You took that opportunity and you've made of it what you've made of it.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I'm a big believer in if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. And you have to put your name in the hat to even give yourself a chance. And when we talked about resilience and stuff, it's always been instilled in me just to go for something and don't kind of worry about what's going to happen. Just try. If you don't try, you'll never know. And I've always got a lot of respect for my mum for instilling that in me, and it's stayed with me, and I tried to pass that on to other people as well, just to ask, try, do. What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. If you don't ask, you don't get there.
Exactly.
So is your mum obviously a big part of your mindset in terms of career and stuff? Yeah,
because me growing up, I was brought up by my mum. She was my sole carer. So her and my dad split up when I was, I think, probably 1 or 2 years old, to be honest. And even though I was still close to my dad when they were split, my mum was the one that brought me up, fed me, raised me, gave me all my morals and values, and she worked really, really hard to make ends meet. And I think that work ethic resonated with me and stuck with me throughout my life so far. And I remember when I was younger, probably 5 or 6, my mum used to actually sing in an Irish band. So she was a lead singer in her own band, and she used to sing in all the pubs and clubs around Manchester, and that was just a way of making ends meet. So she'd do a normal carer's job from Monday to Friday, and then Friday night she'd be out singing, same on Saturday night, sometimes twice on a Sunday. And I'd go and stay at a childminder's over the weekend while she was doing that, just to put food on the table. And she did that for years, probably 15 years, and that, you know, relentless anyway, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. And I've always respected that, and that's her resilience. It's like, I'm not going to be defeated, I will put food on the table. And sometimes she'd go without eating just to feed me, because we weren't well off, we didn't have anything like that. We were from quite a poor background, if you like. So,
and you say that you've always respected it, what your mum's work ethic and stuff, but is that something that you've, like a light bulb moment as you've got older and you've had responsibilities and you've realised what your mum actually did, or did you actually respect it at the time? Because obviously that's gonna, your mum's work ethic then must have created a situation where you didn't see her as much, and she was doing things for the right reason. But as a child, you tend not to see those reasons there. You always think, I never see my mum, or I never see my dad, they're always working, they're always doing this or other. Is it something you always respected, or did you have any resentment there at the beginning?
I think when I was a kid I didn't resent it. I just got used to spending time by myself, and
it was just the norm.
Just doing the norm. It was like a norm to me. I used to get a bit jealous probably of other kids, you know, when you'd speak to them in school or whatever, and they'd be like, oh, I've done this with my mum or dad at the weekend, and I'm like, I've not really done anything.
Yeah.
And as I've got older and, like you say, reflected and looked back, you can respect the work that was put in to get by. And we only lived 5 minutes up the road from where we are now, and it was not the most affluent area. It's quite rough back then, and to say the least. And she just progressively built and just got us to a nicer area where we are now. Nothing special, but worlds apart from where it started. And that was just all through hard work and dedication. And stood here now at the age of 34, I really used that for what she did to kind of spur me on to keep going.
Yeah.
Because if she didn't do the extra and go the extra mile, who knows where we would have ended up. Might have been on the streets or anything, you know. So I always appreciate and respect what she did, and it stays with me.
Yeah. So going back to 2013 when you first joined Sky, obviously a totally different environment to what you used to out in Ibiza.
100%.
And even fitting gas and stuff like that, gas fitting. How did you deal with that back then?
Again, I think it was coming in with an open mind.
Yeah.
I used to be, I still am to a certain degree, an overthinker, but I tried to go into this not doing that and not expect anything and just take whatever came at me and run with it. And I realised that I had the manual skills to do it in terms of using a drill and ladders and stuff, but it's a totally different beast, if you like, doing ladder work for a gas company as opposed to doing it for Sky.
Yeah.
All the health and safety involved, there was none of that where I was. So that transition took a while just to get used to. But the work that we do and the work that I have done, it's never really bothered me in that respect. I've just cracked on and got on with it.
So you started out in Sky as an engineer?
Apprentice. So it was a 12-month apprenticeship scheme.
For the engineering side of it?
Just for the engineers, yeah. It was a big influx at the time as well. It was countrywide. So I always remember going down to head office at Osterley, and there's like a big induction day. when we actually used to host the Champions League at Sky at that time. That's how far back it was. And
Yeah.
I remember going around the studios, and it was just in awe of everything. And I was thinking to myself, I can't believe, like you just saying, I've come back from a beefer, and then all of a sudden I'm here.
Yeah.
It was really strange, but it just gave me that hunger just to stay here, because I thought, I'm not going to get much better than this now. For me, this is like pinnacle of my life at that time, at the age of 24, and I just wanted to really build on that to do the best that I could.
Engineering wise, you've done your apprenticeship. Did you start having any aspirations then to grow within the company, or were you happy in your role at the time?
I think when I finished the apprenticeship, I was just glad to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
It felt like a bit of a burden just because it was for 12 months. It felt like a really long time, because I could do the role probably within 5 or 6 months, and I just wanted to get that ticked off and be an engineer and get my FS number, because we didn't even have one of them when you were an apprentice, so you were kind of like just floating in the background a little bit. So when I was an engineer, I just really wanted to learn everything and just be good at my job, and I didn't really focus on the future as much in terms of career path or journey. It was just more about doing my job as an engineer and doing it the best that I can. And then it was only probably 3 or 4 years ago where I really started thinking about my own career as a whole and what I wanted to do. I've always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to give back, because I was afforded the opportunity to be an apprentice and kind of restart my life, if you like.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a support mechanism for somebody else, whether that be a group of people, an individual, whatever it may be. So I decided then to start applying to do team manager covering and things like that, and I used to create newsletters which would just highlight things for recognition, try and just make people feel a bit happier.
Yeah.
And bring a bit more morale into it, because I think morale plays a big part in anything. If you're not happy in what you're doing, it can affect not just your performance, it can affect you at home, it can
affect your colleagues as well.
Yeah, cause a lot of problems.
It is an important aspect of working with people, isn't it? Is it?
100%. And where I am now as a coach, like yourself,
yeah,
it's you know as well as me that it's rewarding in the fact that you can help someone go from, a position where they might not be doing so well at the moment to somewhere where they're just shining. And it might just be a little word or two that you've said that just sparks something, or it could be a full-blown coaching program which allows them to learn more and do more and be better.
And do you see this being able to fulfill your career needs for the future, or?
I feel like I can do more,
Yeah.
100%. I feel like this is probably the start of it, and growth and self-development's been my key focus for the last probably 18 to 24 months.
Yeah.
In terms of just getting out of my comfort zone, I think for a long time I just coasted when I was an engineer, and you plod on, but you don't really come out of your shell and flourish, if you like, and show all your true colours. And I feel like this is just a stepping stone to being able to do that and be the best version of me, which can then hopefully help somebody else become the best version of themselves.
And have you always had those sort of aspirations to self-develop and progress, or do you ever see yourself in future finding the perfect job and you're going to be happy with that? So I guess what I'm saying is, what does, let's say, next 5 years look like for Kieran? Where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing?
I think it's really hard at the moment to answer that, just because of the uncertainty with everything else that goes on around us.
Yeah.
And, not just within the business we're in, but just in life in general. So I'd be happy enough just to, do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Meet new people along the way, and just start generating new conversations and new opportunities, and see where that takes me.
Interesting. And where does family come into it for you? Have you got your own family?
So I've got a fiance now, so we called Laura. So me and Laura actually dated about 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
And that was around the time when I was in and out of coming home from Ibiza and stuff like that. In fact, it's even longer than that. I'm thinking I'm younger than I am. It's probably 12, 13 years ago, to be honest. And at that time, I was in that party mindset, and I wasn't really in the settling down mood or anything like that. I just wanted to date, and she realised that and soon cut it off. So that was the end of it. And then only about 3 years ago, just got a random inbox on Facebook. How are you doing? You all right? I thought, oh, hello, stranger. Not seen you for a while. And, you know, we met up and went for a coffee. And things just went from there, and we ended up getting together. And I proposed last year at the Manchester Theatre, the Palace Theatre, at the Lion King. So that's her favourite cartoon of all time. So I thought that's the prime opportunity to be able to do it. And I'm not kidding, Nick, it took about 6 months of planning to be able to get it right. And I was shitting myself along the way. Like, as soon as we got there on the day, I had 2 glasses of red wine before we even went in the theatre, just to calm the nerves. Because the idea was for us to go in, sit down at a set of seats that weren't ours, for the staff to then come over and move us to another one.
Yeah. So had you got the staff involved and stuff?
Staff were fully involved, yeah. So I emailed Disney, ATG, different events companies that were involved with that show, just to try and get it all boxed off.
Oh, wow.
So before the show started, we just got comfortable, and then someone come over and said, you're in the wrong seats, you need to move. And I said, oh yeah, sorry, we're on the next tier. So we went up to tier 2, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then, I was going to get run over then. Went up to tier 2. And then halfway through at the interval, they come over again and said, really, really sorry, you were in the right seats to begin with, we'll move you back down. But by this time, she'd seen her ass. Like, she was waiting for this show for 3 years because of COVID. So she's stomping her feet and she's like, I'm not moving down there, I've waited 3 years for this. And I thought, you better have moved, I've got a lot planned here, love. So we got there in the end, and as she's walking ahead of me, I've got a security guy beside me, and I'm trying to pass him my phone with the camera on video so we can record it.
Yeah.
And every time I'm about to pass it to him, she keeps turning around, having another rant. So I only managed to give him the phone just as the door opened, and it went onto the balcony on the grand tier. And in the time that we were walking, the other staff were telling the crowd to look up.
Yeah.
So they were there waiting for us in the crowd, like 2,000 people, while we come out onto the balcony. And then I proposed then, and the crowd were going mad and everything. So it went to perfection. But yeah, my nerves weren't great that day, I'll be honest.
You know, listening to this, I'm not sure if it's going to make the podcast, if I'm honest, because my missus listens to these. And I proposed to her while she was putting washing away in the kitchen. So you just made me look right, idiot.
You'll have to do it for a second time. But do you know what? It's one of them. I feel like there should be no pressure in doing anything.
Yeah. No, that's right.
It's what suits you as a couple, and you know, not just in relationships, in life. There's no perfect.
And she loves putting washing away, mate. So it were a perfect situation.
Exactly. You know, bring the dinner tray out on Valentine's with the sif on it and everything. Job's a good one.
So you got any kids?
No kids. You know, unfortunately, we can't actually have them.
Okay.
Laura suffers from endometriosis.
Okay.
Really bad. So it's something that, especially now at Sky as well, we've got plenty of female engineers that have come through on Women in Home Service programme, for example, and it's something that really needs highlighting.
Yeah.
As a support mechanism, because it can't be easy.
No.
You know, when it comes to that time of the month, and if the support's not there, I know how much she suffers just sitting at home with it. So I can imagine how painful it would be trying to, get by with that, as well as carrying ladders and drilling and whatever else.
Yeah.
So it's a really important message, I think, to the business. I know we're doing great things at the minute, but I'd love more in that space, just to, for the female engineers to be looked after with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately we can't have kids as a result. So she wants to get about 6 dogs, which I'm not a fan. I love dogs, but I don't want that many. I'd be happy with a little Shih Tzu or something, but she's into Dobermans and everything else, so yeah.
Yeah, see, I like a big dog.
Yeah,
I don't like we've got a French Bulldog at the minute, and it's like a little fucking rat, mate, honestly. I hate it.
I like the little cuddly things, me. Ones that just snuggle up to you on the couch while you're watching telly, no either. I don't want a big dog with hairs all over me, that can't cope.
Yeah. But
she loves all that. She's like, I'll brush him, and we looked after my cousin's dog a few weeks ago, and I'm not kidding, she treats it like a baby, and she left us 3 sheets of A4 paper with instructions on how to mind this dog.
Yeah.
So he had a Peppa Pig yoghurt on a Saturday, scrambled eggs with turkey slices on a Sunday. He has to have his eye drops twice a day, and I'm looking at it going, what is this?
Yeah.
And my missus is loving it, and I'm like, well, you fire away, football's on.
See, with dogs, I think you can ruin them by treating them like babies.
100%.
Yeah.
And just mollycoddling, and I like dogs to be running out free with a stick in its mouth, or throwing a tennis ball, not eating Peppa Pig yogurts off a licky mat.
So, like 5 years in your life, where do you see yourself? You've talked about your career. What about your personal life?
I think the first thing is weddings coming up in 2 years' time.
Okay.
2025 in June. So a lot of saving to be done for that, to be honest. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
But really looking forward to it. And then once that's done, it'll be more a case of getting the house, settle down, and hopefully both our careers aligned to be able to just live comfortably, really, with no worries. I think that's the one thing that we all want in life, is just to live with no worries, and if you can ever get to that point, it would be great. You're always going to have some form of sadness at some point, but I think if you're happy at home and everything's comfortable, you can do a lot more than in the likes of your work and everything else. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the future, to be honest, Nick. I think it's the first time in a long time I've been able to probably say that.
Yeah.
I think when I came home from Ibiza, it was a depressing time because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And when I was an apprentice, I still felt like I was starting again, like I was 16.
Yeah.
Felt like a bit of a failure. And then obviously you see things on Instagram, Facebook, and people are buying their houses already, and they've already settled down, and you feel in a certain way that you're behind.
Yeah.
And I think that puts a lot of pressure on you. So I don't tend to look at that as much anymore, to be honest.
There is a lot of pressure comes from like the technology side of things in our day and age now, with Facebook and Instagram, and it's all fake, really, isn't it? But you can't help but feel those pressures, can you? Like, if they're doing it, why aren't I? And why is their life so great and mine's shit? Well, actually, your life's normal, you know, and they're probably going through the same sort of things.
And a lot of it's just a facade, and you see where people are just stood beside cars that aren't even theirs and taking videos of it,
Yeah.
I think I seen something a while back where someone said they were on a plane to Las Vegas or something, and they're actually going to Guernsey, and someone caught them out on it. And so it just shows you how false it is, and how much false pressure you do put on yourself. So I think in 5 years' time, if I was in a place where I'm married, I've got an house, a couple of dogs, not 6, and
it's called compromise. That.
Compromise, yeah. It's the thing that I'm learning as we're going along when you're engaged, and there's probably more of that to come when you get married.
Yeah. Well, my wedding's next year, so I'm fortunate though that Dad's still alive, and he wants to pay for her wedding and stuff like that. So very fortunate with that.
Well, I am glad that we've recorded this podcast, because I can show this to her dad now, and hopefully he'll put his hand in his pocket. Because it's an exciting thing, isn't it, though, when you're getting married? I think it's something that I never thought I'd ever do.
Okay.
And I was never interested in it. And I think the fact that we can't have kids, it made me think, well, that's probably the second best thing that she would have in her life.
Yeah.
And that's what made me not think about myself as much, and just think about her. And I feel I do that a lot more now in my 30s than I ever did in my teens and my 20s, where I think about other people more than myself. And it can be detrimental in some ways, But I think on the whole, it makes me a better person, and I feel better about it when I'm considering other people a lot more. And I think it then comes with the territory of the job that I'm in now as well, where you do a lot of thinking about others.
Yeah.
And how can I help and support? So I think it's just called growing up.
Yeah, and I mean, look, speaking about that, looking back then at all your jobs you've had and different experiences you've been in, different careers and stuff like that, which one would you say has developed you more as a person or made you grow more as an individual? Where would you say you'd pulled the most from in terms of career?
I've pulled a lot from the one I'm in now, the 10 years that I've been here. But I think, as funny as it sounds, probably the experience of working in Ibiza, because it was so intense. It was being really throwing yourself in the deep end.
Yeah.
To a point where it was so uncomfortable. You're walking in hotels and you're trying not to get thrown out by the staff because you haven't got the wristband, and just to try and make a sale and get yourself some money. I felt like that was a proper dog eat dog time, and I really enjoyed it, but it helped me build my own confidence.
Yeah.
I was not always a confident person. I used to have an issue when I was younger in school and stuff where my face would go like block chair, like red, if I stood up and spoke in front of people.
Yeah.
So there's no way that I could have even done this podcast 10 years ago. I'd been shitting myself. And from doing that experience in Ibiza and living that, it kind of made the blotchy red face fade away, because I wasn't afraid to talk in front of people anymore.
Yeah.
And it just helped me become the person that I am so far today, where I'd say I'm quite fearless. I'm not that bothered about doing anything. If someone's asked me to do a task, I'll go and do it, even if it feels uncomfortable. I kind of enjoy getting comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Yeah. So you'd say like being forced to do something like you were in Ibiza, because like you say, if you didn't, you weren't eating.
Yeah.
As plain and simple as that.
Yeah, and there was no other way around it, because my mum didn't have the money to send over to me if I've got stuck.
Yeah.
There was no one that could help me, and if I had to borrow off someone, I've still got to pay them back, so that means I have to sell more tickets.
Yeah.
So it was literally, you don't sell, you don't eat. And it really helped me build as a person, and like we said a couple of times, the word resilience, it's something that I feel like I am, and I embody that, and I like to see other people be like that too, because no one likes to see anyone depressed or beating themselves up over something that's gone wrong and kind of blaming themselves over it. I think resilience helps you get up from those knockdowns and knockbacks, and just keep going.
And do you find it hard when you're coaching that not everybody has the same mindset as you? And do you find yourself having to step back a little bit, thinking, well, maybe I need to approach this different, because this person I'm talking in front of me is not me, they've experienced things differently? And
I think I'm one of these, as you can tell on this podcast, I can talk a glass eye to sleep, so it's one of them. Some people might not want me out with them just because I do waffle, and I might not be the right coach for them. Okay. And I'm quite flexible with that. I don't take it to heart. I'll actually find it upon myself to say, do you know what, I might not be the right person, and maybe say to Dave, can you go out and see this engineer, because I don't think I'm suited.
Well, that's a good trait to have, because that's self-awareness, that.
Yeah.
And being self-aware is important, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, because I don't see that as shying away from the task. I just see it more as, if I'm not suited to that particular thing or role or person, why not pass it on and let someone else get the most out of it?
Yeah.
Rather than me trying to take it on and make a pig's ear out of it, and maybe make the situation 10 times worse. If I can identify that straight away, I'm happier to pass it on and explain it, as opposed to going in head first and making the situation even worse. But it's not to say that I'm afraid to jump in if I have to, and like I say, comfortable in the uncomfortable. But I like self-awareness is a key part of the role that I'm in, and you need to be aware of what you're good at and what you're not so good at.
Your own limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if I know I've not got the right skill set to approach a certain engineer, I might approach them, but with more of a laid-back attitude, rather than talking about something I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
And maybe seek advice or help from somebody that knows the answer or knows how to make something better for someone. And I think that's just teamwork in general as well. I think it plays a key part in what we do.
And obviously a day-to-day for a coach is obviously helping other people. What sort of stuff do you do to help yourself?
Well, I'm quite pleased at the minute we have the 2-hour self-development time.
Yeah.
It's something that's greatly appreciated, especially from my part. The role that we're in now, we find ourselves creating a lot of slideshows, spreadsheets and stuff, and my skills on PowerPoint are basic, to say the least. So the 2 hours that we get, I've used to develop that.
Yeah.
And it does really help. And I've been on courses for 12 weeks. You were actually on it with me at the start, the growth course.
Yeah.
And I found that to be really beneficial for me, just to learn about mindset and appreciate who you are. I think you alluded to it at the start. Sometimes you can just knock yourself down, and sometimes you have to sit there and say, I'm actually good at what I do.
Yeah.
And I should be here, because you can get imposter syndrome, and I've had that in the past, especially when I first started as a coach as well.
Yeah.
Being the youngest of the team that I'm in, you know,
and coming into it late as well.
Coming into it late,
yeah.
it was something that really I had to grit my teeth and just keep going.
Yeah.
And not worry about that and what other people's opinions may or may not be of me, because I know that I've got the skills and earned the right to be where I am now. I spent all the hard years out in the rain, in the snow, in the wind, up ladders, and I've done the hard yard, so I feel like I'm qualified to speak about most jobs that I turn up to.
Yeah. And looking into the future for career and stuff like that, this is something that's been playing on my mind for a while. I've never asked anybody about it. And what's your views on like artificial intelligence and how that's going to play a role in, like, maybe even like things like applying for jobs and stuff? And because obviously you've got ChatGPT now and stuff like that. Do you think that's going to be like a detriment effect to?
It scares me, to be honest, AI. I'll
Yeah.
be honest. I think, especially when you go to supermarkets and stuff like that, you go to the check-in desks, you know, a train station, they're all getting closed down now.
Yeah.
Ticket offices or whatnot, and I feel really sorry for people who struggle with that, or elderly folk, for example, or someone with a disability. I don't think AI is considered for everybody. You know, I'm doing a lot of work at the minute for people in the neurodiversity space. So neurodivergent people learn different to a neurotypical person, but AI tends to only accommodate neurotypical people for the most part. I know you've got stuff that can, you know, you got dictation and whatnot that allows people with dyslexia, for example, to read content and speak content differently. But I think as AI grows and advances, I feel like it's pushing stuff more away for the people that currently struggle.
Yeah.
And it makes me quite sad. I just hope that whoever the powers that be in the AI world are, that they just recognise that and just consider everybody, not just people that can use it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a weird one, because I was talking to some people at an event we were at, and their views on things were, well, I can just put it into ChatGPT and say, write me a cover letter, and it does it for them. And
Do you not think it makes you lazy though? As well? Makes you really lazy.
And I'll be honest with you, I use it, but only to, maybe I'll write something out and then I'll put it in there and see what it comes out like. You know, I think there's a time and a place for it, but people are becoming more and more reliant on it, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, what happens if all of a sudden, I've thought about this for a while, it sounds really weird, but So like an asteroid, all the major satellites that we've got in technology went down, and we're that heavily reliant on it.
Yeah.
That what do we do? You know, and something could happen in the future where technology does go down like that, and if we've moved that far away into that space to the point where we've forgot about just being human, where do we go? And it's a bit of a fear of mine, really. And I just think if my granddad and my grandparents were here now, what their life would be like with it all. I mean, even my mum, her trying to use the phone at the minute, she still texts with like one finger, you know, her index finger, and just types with the one finger. It takes 10 minutes to say hello. So, yeah. I've
been typing for 20 minutes, Mum. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
Hi, Kieran.
That's all it says. So, yeah, I don't think AI is for everyone, and I think you have to keep the simple day-to-day things still here.
Yeah.
And the accommodations and stuff for accessibility needs. You still need to have all that. It's unfair to think that everybody can do the same thing.
I think if we embrace it rather than rely on it, it can become a good tool.
Yeah, I think that's the key phrase. Embrace, not rely.
I know it's costing me money at the minute. Have you got Spotify?
I have got Spotify.
Yeah, so there's a thing on there, isn't there, called DJX?
Yes.
So you'll put it on and it'll say, hey Nick, here's your top tunes from last week. But because I only had one account, my top tunes from last week would have been Wheels on Bus, Peppa Pig, and all that. I'm like, skip. Daddy finger. Oh, fuck's sake. So it's cost me money now to get 2 Spotify accounts so my kids can use my partner's account instead of mine.
My Spotify, I listen to weird music, to be honest. Well, I say weird, it's probably weird for me. All my mates call me weird. I listen to reggae constantly, whether that be dancehall, bashment, anything and everything to do with reggae, I will listen to it. And I know all the words, all the lyrics. Not that good at dancing, but yeah, it's my favourite thing in the world, reggae music. I just wish I was here in an era when Bob Marley was here.
Yeah. So, final question, Kieran. It's all to do with career as well again. So, looking back, if you could give any piece of advice to a former employer, what would it be?
Really good question. I think looking back, like I said, when we spoke about my career journey, I've not had that many jobs. I've kind of had one for 4 years, one for 3 years on and off if you consider a beefer as a job, and then the 10 years where I am now. But I think for not just previous employers, I think for all employers, I'd just say get to know your people.
Yeah.
As people. I think quite often we're all considered as a number, and if you get to know a person on a deeper level, you actually then get to learn how to support them. And I feel like from the role that we're both in now, we get to do that on a day-to-day basis and speak to people as people, not just as a stat. And yeah, that'd be my message, just to get to know your people on a more human and personal level.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think it is important that you know who's working for you and what sort of needs they have, and yeah, you can create a much better environment that way.
Yeah, because you've got surveys and whatnot, but I think actually sitting down on a one-to-one level, or even as a group, and just discussing life, you know, like we've done today.
Yeah.
You know, what's your kids' names, what's your dog's name, how long you've been married, all these little things go a long way. And I think it all helps for productivity and morale, well-being, everything really.
Brilliant. Good answer. Well, listen, it's been fantastic getting to know your backstory and career and life, and I'm sure there's plenty more stories around the Ibiza time, but we'll save that for a different one.
That's for another podcast, that. But no, I appreciate it, Nick. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate your time, Kieran. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that follow button and join me next time for more chats on Nick Needs to Know.